Hello students, welcome to all. This is Dr. Richness, lecturer in geography. And here we shall discuss about resources, definitions, concept, classification, conservation and management. In this module, we are going to cover the following major subsections. They are 1. Introduction. 2. Meaning and definitions of resources. 3. Concept of resources. 4. Resource, resistance and natural stock. 5. Functional theory of resources. 6. Classification of resources. 7. Resources availability. 8. Perspectives on resource exploitation. 9. Conservation and management of resources. And 10th is the sustainability of resources. Let us start this session with the introduction to resources. Every society is gifted with resources which are backbone for the economic and social development of humanity. Resources are the gift of nature which are unevenly distributed on the earth. Resources are being used to produce goods and services that enable a country to survive and prosper. No doubt, it is not possible to develop any region or country without availability of various types of resources. Actually, the resources and development go hand in hand. The development is a process of evaluation which is taking its appropriate shape and place since prehistoric times, from hunting and food gathering to modern equipped technological advancement. The development laid the foundation of resources utilization to resource extermination, as a result, environmental mismanagement. Now, the learning objectives of the present module. After studying this module, you will be able to define the resources and understand the concept of resources, to familiar with the various types of resources, and to understand the importance of conservation and management of resources. Now, we move with the meaning and definitions of resources. Etymologically, a resource refers to two separate words, re and source, that indicate anything or substance that may occur unhindered many more times. The term resources had no special significance till the early part of the 20th century. A resource is a physical material that humans need and value, such as land, air, water. Generally, human beings consider the resources as special things, which are basically found through excavation or some broad physical features like seas, mountain, rivers, etc. But geographically, we render resource concept in very broad sense. Typically, that is everything which is in use or in practice by human mind, as human mind being the actual resource controls every aspect of resource from finding to extinction. Nothing is a resource until and unless it is marked by human mind. That is why it is said that human mind is the supreme resource. So, resource popularly signifies A, a source or a possibility of assistance. B, an expedient. C, means of transport. D, means to attain a given end. E. Capacity to take advantage of opportunities. And F. That upon which one relies for aid, support, or supply. Now, we will see some definition, or some outstanding definitions of resources as given in the following paragraph. Concise Oxford Dictionary defines resource as a stock or a supply of material or assets. Dasman defines resource as materials, areas, or living things considered useful or of value to a particular culture. According to Professor Zimmerman, a famous economist, defined resources as the word resource does not refer to a thing or a substance, but to a function which a thing or a substance may perform or to an operation in which it may take part, namely the function or operation of attaining a given end, such as satisfying a want. In other words, the word resource is an abstraction reflecting human appraisal and relating to a function or operation. Therefore, resources stands for all the means and tools that fulfill the needs of human beings or attain social objectives. They also refer to a positive interactions between man and nature. Man is, of course, the most important and integral part of resource creation, as he is situated in the top of hierarchy of resource consumption. The elements of nature are not resources until people have found a value for them. Only the satisfaction of human beings converts anything or a substance into a resource. According to Zimmerman, therefore, an element in nature is a natural stuff until there has been found a value and the technical skill to extract it from nature. Now, let us discuss about the concept of resources. The concept of resources has been applied in diverse realms with respect to geography, economics, computer science, management, and other sciences. The concept of resource is linked to the concepts of competition, sustainability, conservation, and stewardship. It is only in 1933 when the eminent professor of economics, R.H.W. Zimmerman, promulgated his famous concept of resources. The idea became so popular that numerous articles and papers started pouring the contemporary human and economic geographical literature. Urgent need was felt to identify the new concept as separate and important branch of study. In geography, the resource has been defined as those things which are endowed by nature, which are great value to man. Resource is any physical material that constitute part of the earth and which people need its value. In an economic sense, the resource defined as services or other assets used to produce goods and services which meet human needs and wants. Classical economics recognize three categories of resources, also referred to as factors of production, such as land, labor, and capital. In computer science, A computer resource is any physical or virtual component of limited availability within a computer or information management system. Computer resources include means for input, processing, output, communication, and storage. According to Professor Hamilton, it is technology which gives value to the natural stuff which it possesses, processes, and as useful or advance the gifts of nature are remained. With the technology on the march, the emphasis of value shifts from the natural to the processed good. In relation to resource, a static and dynamic concept has also been developed. Some scholars consider resources as static and state that they are fixed asset and their quantity cannot be increased, whether it is minerals or water, soil, or natural vegetation. As we discussed in the previous paragraph, the concept of resources includes two. One is static concept and the second is the dynamic concept. First, we will look into the static concept of resources. This was an earlier concept where widespread belief was that resource cannot be created. It is a free gift of nature. This was because of the fact that only natural things or substances were considered as a resource, and creation, modification, or extension of resources was practically unknown. Resources cannot come under the static concept because the quantity of the resources either get decreased or increased with respect to time. Static means neither get increased nor get decreased, but when we start to use the resource, it gets reduced on exploration, their quantity rises. Second is the dynamic concept of resources. Earlier, man was not particular about the resources because his wants or needs were limited and used to fulfill them easily. But with the industrialization, technological development, and growth of population, the use of resources has also increased. Resource creation process is not static. It is dynamic in nature. The thing or the substance considered as a neutral stuff today may be converted into precious resource tomorrow. Since the beginning of civilization, Paleolithic man started devoting his limited knowledge to convert natural stuff into the resources for his own requirement. Resources increases in response to increased knowledge, that is learning or improved efficiency, improved or better ways of communication, expanding sciences, that is technological uh, improvements, changing individual requirements, that is changing lifestyle, social objectives, that is conserving the fossil fuels, reducing the pollution, etc. With the increasing need, man practically explored all the possibilities and avenues to expand resource base from its existing stock. So resource creation is a continuous and need-based operation at present era when the world is passing through acute energy crisis. Man is exploring possibilities to produce energy for all sources: solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, etc. Previously, ocean current was never considered as a resource, but now man is able to convert this force into energy. So, the concept of resource is dynamic, and resource study is a dynamic science. Resource and resistance and natural stuff. Resource and resistance are closely linked with each other. Where there is resource, there is also resistance. Nature has given many things which can function as a resource. Example, productive land, coal for energy, rain for agriculture, and so on. But at the same time, nature also presents us with some harmful things, that is, resistance, such as barren and unproductive soil, floods, typhoons, hurricanes, earthquakes, poisons, etc., which are harmful or restrict man and are called resistance. In social context education, training, improved health, social morality are resources, but literacy, ignorance, greed, overpopulation, racial conflict, war, etc. are resistance. Similarly, in the field of culture, scientific development, tools, machines, or technology, good governance, finance, etc. are resources, but obsolete equipments, conservative attitude, business depression, uh, abortive policies, etc. are resistances. Another aspect of resources is the neutral stuff. Anything or any process that restricts substances becoming resource is called neutral stuff. Similarly, anything or a substance which does not contain functional ability or utility value, it is termed as neutral stuff. A neutral stuff should not be necessarily neutral forever. What is considered neutral stuff today may transform into resource tomorrow. Man by his knowledge, wisdom, and technological innovation may transform neutral stuff into resources. For example, till 1859, the petroleum was not considered as a resource because its use as a source of power was not unknown to the man. But with the development of science and technology, it has become now an important energy source. Similar is the case with the minerals and several other resources available on Earth. In fact, the process of economic development is directly proportional with the rate of conversion of natural neutral stuff into a resource. So, the minimization of resistance is the only way to maximize resource creation. Resources were functional theory of resources. Resources was defined as means of attaining given ends, that is, individual wants. Means take their meaning from the ends which they serve. As ends change, means must change also. The statement of Zimmerman clearly states that resource creation is a function of space and time. With increasing knowledge, function of resource may enhance. It means that only those things or substances are considered as a resource which are functional means useful for man. But the situation changes with the time and development of science and technological advancement. The modern school of thought believes in resource use for human welfare and also in functional theory of resource, which entails A. A resource is functional and operational. B. It is made or created by efforts of man. And it is C. It is dynamic and not static in nature. The term functional denotes functionable character, that is the capacity of satisfying human wants. As natural phenomena which can satisfy human wants is functional, so a resource. The sunshine which helps our organic growth, the air which we breathe, the earth on which we live are automatically resources. They are functional in their original state and form, but many natural things, that is, minerals, soils, rivers, waterfalls, forests, etc., did not possess their functional capacity in their original state. It is acquired its functional capacity when man, by his efforts, discovered it and learnt the art of putting it into various uses. Then it became a resource. The tropical Africa is well endowed with the huge water resources. Due to the backwardness of economy, technological drawbacks, inhabitants of that region cannot convert into energy. On the contrary, the Japanese were able to produce huge energy from far less water resources. This is because of scientific knowledge, expertise, and greater economic development. This increasing knowledge reduced the resistances of the natural things or substances and converting them to the resources. So, Wesley Mission had aptly said that incomparably greatest among human resources is knowledge. Therefore, it is clear that resources although exist, but their functional character makes them a resource. Otherwise, they are not. They are neutral stuffs. Without functional capacity, coal was a neutral stuff. With the functional capacity, coal is a resource. So, with the efforts of man, through the functional or operational processes, resources are dynamically created. Without human effort, resources cannot be created because man is the ultimate consumer of resources. Without any operational processes, a thing or a substance remains neutral. A resource cannot be created, and what is created now may be enhanced or increased with increasing knowledge. So, resource creation process is highly dynamic in nature. Dear students, so far we have discussed the following points in the sessions. 1. Introduction to resources. 2. Meaning and definitions of resources. 3. Concept of resources. 4. Resource, resistance, and neutral stuff. And 5th one, functional theory of resources. Dear students, in the next session of the resource classification part 2 video, we are going to discuss about the classification of resources, resource availability, perspectives on resource exploitation, conservation and management of resources, and sustainability of resources. Thank you, Ananda.